My fiancé stood up at our engagement party, tapped his glass, and announced to 100 guests that he was settling by marrying me. He laughed when he said it. His frat brothers laughed with him. His mother smiled into her champagne like she'd been waiting years to hear those words. "She's lucky I'm giving her my name," he continued. "Let's be honest, fellas. Some of us marry up, some of us marry down. We all know which one this is." The room went quiet, then awkward laughter, then whispers. I stood there in my white dress, holding a bouquet I'd spent 3 hours choosing, watching the man who was supposed to love me turn our engagement party into a roast. My future mother-in-law leaned over to her friend and said, loud enough for me to hear, "At least she'll be easy to control." 100 people watched me get publicly ranked, measured, and dismissed. My fiancé raised his glass to making the best of it. Everyone drank. Everyone except me. I set my glass down, walked to the front of the room, smiled at the man who had just handed me the greatest gift he'd ever give me: permission to leave. The party was supposed to be perfect. We'd rented out a rooftop bar downtown, the kind of place with string lights and a view of the whole city. I'd spent months planning the guest list, the catering, the flowers, the dress, a simple white number I'd found in a little boutique and fallen in love with instantly. My mother flew in from Florida. My best friend Sarah came early to help me get ready. Everything was exactly how I'd imagined it. Derek and I had been together for 3 years. He was handsome, successful, charming in that effortless way some men are. His family had money, old money, the kind that came with expectations and unspoken rules I was still learning. His mother never liked me, I knew that. She made it clear in 1,000 small ways. The way she looked at my clothes, the way she asked about my job, the way she always mentioned his ex-girlfriends who came from good families. But Derek always reassured me. "She'll come around," he'd say. "She just wants what's best for me. Once she sees how happy you make me, she'll love you." I believed him. Stupid me. The party started at 7. By 8, the place was full. 100 guests mingled under the string lights, drinking champagne and taking photos. My mother cried happy tears. Sarah kept squeezing my arm and saying, "You did it. You actually did it." Derek's mother arrived late, as usual. She air-kissed my cheek and complimented my dress in a way that felt like an insult. "How simple," she said. "Very you." I let it slide. I was too happy to care. Around 9, Derek stood up and tapped his glass with a spoon. The room quieted. Everyone turned to him, smiling, expecting a sweet toast about love and forever. He cleared his throat, grinned at his friends in the back. "I just want to say a few words about my fiancé, about us, about what this whole thing means." I smiled up at him, heart full. "You know, when you're a guy like me, people have expectations. They expect you to marry someone impressive, someone who fits the part." He paused, letting that land. "And I did okay. I mean, she's pretty, she's nice, she tries hard." The room went still. "But let's be honest," he laughed. "Some of us marry up, some of us marry down, and we all know which one this is." His frat brothers erupted. Laughter, hooting, someone actually clapped. I felt the blood drain from my face. "She's lucky I'm giving her my name," he continued, warming to his performance. "Lucky I'm willing to settle down and make an honest woman out of her. Because let's face it, fellas, what else would she do without me?" More laughter, louder this time. I looked at my mother. Her face was white. Sarah's mouth hung open. My friends stared at me with horror in their eyes. Derek's mother leaned over to the woman beside her, one of her country club friends, and said, clear as day, "At least she'll be easy to control." Derek raised his glass to making the best of it. 100 glasses lifted. People drank. Some looked uncomfortable. Others laughed along, caught up in the moment, not realizing what they were celebrating. I stood frozen in the middle of it all, my hands gripping my bouquet so hard the stems bent, my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear. And then something shifted. The shock faded. The hurt faded. What was left was something cold, clear, absolute. I set my glass down on the nearest table, walked to the front of the room. Every step felt like I was walking towards something I couldn't name. Derek saw me coming. He smiled, still basking in his performance. "Babe, I was just joking. You know I don't mean." I held up my hand. He stopped. I turned to face the room. 100 people, frozen mid-drink, watching me. "Thank you all for coming tonight," I said. My voice was steady, calm, the calmest I'd ever been. "I'm sorry you traveled so far for this. I'm sorry some of you bought new dresses, arranged babysitters, took time off work. I'm sorry you had to witness what just happened." Derek's smile faltered. "Babe, what are you doing?" I ignored him. "Here's what's going to happen now. The wedding is canceled, effective immediately. The venue, the caterer, the dress, the flowers, all of it, gone." Gasps rippled through the room. "There will be no refunds. There will be no explanations. There will be no second chances." I finally looked at Derek, at the man who had just handed me the greatest gift he'd ever give me. Permission to leave. I pulled the ring off my finger, a 2-carat diamond I'd helped pick out that I'd worn with pride for 6 months. I held it out to him. Derek stared at it, didn't take it. "Take it," I said. "You're going to need it for the next girl you convince yourself is lucky to have you." I dropped it on the floor. It bounced once, twice, then rolled under a table. I walked out. Behind me, silence. Then chaos. Then someone started clapping. Sarah, I think, and then others joined. I didn't look back. In the elevator, alone, I finally let myself breathe. My hands were shaking, my heart was racing, but underneath it all, underneath the shock and the hurt and the humiliation, there was something else. Relief. I'd almost married him. I'd almost signed up for a lifetime of being made small, of being ranked and measured and found wanting. But he'd shown me who he was, in front of 100 people. He'd handed me the truth on a silver platter, and I took it. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't face my apartment with his things in the closet, his toothbrush in the bathroom, his photos on the walls. So I went to Sarah's place instead, crashed on her couch in my engagement dress, too numb to change, too wired to sleep. Sarah sat up with me until 3 a.m., refilling wine glasses and letting me talk, or not talk, whatever I needed. "He showed everyone who he is. That's a gift. He gave you a gift," she kept saying. It didn't feel like a gift. It felt like a wound. By morning, my phone was dead. Not the battery, the notifications. Hundreds of them. Texts from friends, from coworkers, from people I hadn't talked to in years. Videos of the toast had gone viral. Not like internet viral, but family group chat viral. Everyone was talking. Derek called 17 times. His mother called 4. I let them all go to voicemail. His messages shifted over the course of the day. First, angry. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone." Then, confused. "Babe, it was a joke. Why are you doing this?" Then, desperate. "My mom is freaking out. Please just call me." I saved everyone. Around noon, there was a knock at Sarah's door. I opened it to find a delivery man holding the biggest flower arrangement I'd ever seen. Roses, dozens of them, with a card. "I'm sorry. Let's talk." By Derek. I left the flowers in the hallway. The next day, I went home, walked into my apartment, and started packing. Everything of his went into garbage bags. Clothes, shoes, toiletries, the expensive watch he left on the nightstand, all of it. I texted him one message. "Your things are on the curb. Pick them up before the trash truck comes." He showed up within the hour, pounded on my door. "Open up, we need to talk." I opened the door, didn't invite him in. "There's nothing to talk about." Are you serious right now? Over a joke? You're throwing away 2 years over a joke? I stared at him, this man I'd loved, this man I'd planned to marry. And for the first time, I saw him clearly. The arrogance, the entitlement, the cruelty he'd always hidden just beneath the surface. It wasn't a joke. It was a window. You showed me exactly who you are, and I believed you. He laughed. Actually laughed. You're being dramatic. My mom said you'd pull something like this. Your mom, of course. Look, I'll apologize, okay? I'm sorry if I embarrassed you, but you need to understand, that's just how guys talk. My friends and I, we bust each other's balls. It's how we show affection. That wasn't for your friends. That was for everyone. Your family, my family, people who traveled hours to celebrate us. You stood up there and told them I was lucky to have you, that you were settling. He shrugged. So what do you want me to do? Get on my knees? Beg? I looked at him, at the man who still didn't get it, who would never get it. I want you to leave, and I want you to tell your mother that I'm not as easy to control as she hoped. His face hardened. Fine, but don't come crying to me when you realize what you threw away. He grabbed the garbage bags and walked to his car. I closed the door, leaned against it. Let myself breathe. The next few weeks were chaos. Derek's mother started a campaign, called mutual friends, spread rumors, painted me as unstable, dramatic, ungrateful. She told anyone who would listen that I'd overreacted to a harmless joke and humiliated her son for no reason. Some people believed her. Some people always believe the loudest voice. But others started reaching out. Friends of Derek's I'd never really known, his ex-girlfriend from college, a former business partner who'd been burned. They shared stories, patterns, things they'd noticed and never said. It turned out I wasn't the first woman he'd treated like this. I was just the first one who walked out. Sarah found a lawyer for me, Rebecca again, the same one who'd helped with family stuff before. She reviewed our joint accounts, our lease, our wedding contracts. He's legally responsible for half the wedding costs. You can sue him for breach of promise in some states, or you can just walk away and let him deal with the fallout. What fallout? She smiled. The venue isn't refunding anything. The caterer isn't either. Whoever signed those contracts is on the hook, and if both of you signed, she shrugged, he'll have to pay his half or take you to court. Either way, it's a headache. I thought about dragging this out for months, years maybe, about seeing him in court, reliving the humiliation, giving him more chances to play the victim. No, I said, I just want to be done. Rebecca nodded. That's fair, but before you decide, there's something else. She slid a folder across the table. Derek's family has money, old money, but most of it is tied up in trusts controlled by his mother. The house you two were going to buy, her name is on the deed. The car he drives, her lease. The allowance he lives on, her monthly deposits. I stared at her. He doesn't have anything of his own? Not really. He plays the big man, but she holds all the strings. And from what I've heard, she's not happy about the wedding falling apart. Not because she liked you, because now she has to explain to her country club friends why her son got dumped at his engagement party. I laughed, actually laughed, for the first time in weeks. So he's a 35-year-old man living on his mother's allowance, and he had the nerve to say I was lucky to have him? Rebecca smiled. That's the thing about people like Derek. They project so hard they forget anyone's watching. I sat back in my chair. Let the reality sink in. The man who'd humiliated me, the man who'd called me a settlement, the man who'd made me feel small in front of 100 people, was nothing, a puppet, a performance, a boy playing dress-up in his mother's money, and I'd almost married him. That night, I sat on my balcony with Sarah, watching the city lights. "What are you going to do?" she asked. I thought about it, about Derek, about his mother, about the rumors they were spreading. "I'm going to live well," I said. "I'm going to be happy. I'm going to build something so beautiful that one day when he looks back, he'll realize he didn't settle, he lost." Sarah raised her glass. "To that." We clinked. And somewhere across the city, Derek was probably telling someone how crazy I was, how dramatic, how he dodged a bullet. Let him talk. I was done listening.
6 months passed. 6 months of rebuilding, of therapy, of learning to trust myself again. I moved to a new apartment, brighter, bigger, all mine. No memories of Derek anywhere, just empty walls waiting for me to fill them with things that mattered. My job was going well. Too well, actually. I got promoted twice in 5 months. My boss said I was on fire. I told her it was amazing what happened when you stopped carrying dead weight. Sarah came over every Friday night. We ordered pizza, drank wine, and slowly, carefully started talking about the future. Not the future I'd almost had, the future I was building. Then, on a random Tuesday, I got an email. "You've been invited to the wedding of Derek Whitmore and Cassandra Price." I stared at the screen. Cassandra Price. I knew that name. She was one of Derek's mother's country club picks. Old money, perfect family, exactly the kind of daughter-in-law his mother had always wanted. The wedding was in 3 weeks, at the same venue we'd booked, with the same caterer, the same flowers, the same everything. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. He was literally recycling our wedding. I called Sarah. "You're not going to believe this." She read the invitation and burst out laughing. "He's marrying his mother's choice at your venue with your caterer?" Apparently, I was just a placeholder until the real thing came along. "Are you going to go?" I thought about it, about walking into that room, seeing him at the altar, watching his mother's smug face as her plan finally came together. "No," I said. "I have nothing to prove to them." But the universe had other plans. The wedding was all over social media. Derek's friends posted everything: the venue, the flowers, the dress. Cassandra looked beautiful, frozen, like she knew exactly what role she was playing. His mother was in every photo, beaming, finally getting what she wanted. I scrolled through the pictures with a glass of wine, feeling nothing. No anger, no jealousy, just peace. I'd dodged a bullet, and they'd found each other. Perfect. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello? Is this Sophia?" A woman's voice. Young, shaky. "Yes? My name's Megan. I was Cassandra's maid of honor." I sat up. "Okay. I need to talk to you. It's about Derek, about the wedding." My heart started pounding. What happened? A long pause. Then, in a rush, he didn't show. Derek left Cassandra at the altar, in front of 300 people. His mother had a meltdown. An ambulance had to be called. It was horrible. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. He walked out, said he couldn't do it, said she wasn't who he wanted, she paused, said he'd already lost the only woman who ever really loved him, and he'd been pretending ever since. I leaned against my kitchen counter. The room spun. "I know I shouldn't be calling you. I know this is insane, but Cassandra is destroyed, his mother's in the hospital, and Derek is God knows where. And I thought you should know that he said that about you." I thanked her, hung up, stared at the wall for an hour. 3 days later, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Derek standing in the hallway. He looked terrible. Thin, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in weeks. "Sophia?" I didn't invite him in, didn't say anything. "I know I don't deserve to be here. I know I don't deserve you, but I had to see you. I had to tell you something." I waited. That night at the engagement party, I was trying to be someone I'm not, trying to impress people who don't matter, trying to be the man my mother wanted instead of the man I actually am. He took a shaky breath. I've spent 6 months pretending I didn't ruin the best thing that ever happened to me. I got engaged to Cassandra because my mother pushed, because it was easy, because I thought I could just move on. But standing at the altar, looking at her, all I could see was you. All I could feel was how badly I'd messed up. Tears ran down his face. Real ones. I'm not asking you to take me back. I know I don't deserve that. I needed you to know that you were right, to leave, to walk out, to choose yourself. You did the bravest thing I've ever seen anyone do, and I've spent every day since wishing I could go back and be the man you deserved. I looked at this man, this broken, humbled, finally honest version of the man I'd almost married. You hurt me, I said quietly. You humiliated me in front of everyone I know. You made me feel small, and then you spent 6 months proving that I was right to leave. He nodded. I know. But here's the thing, Derek. I don't hate you. I don't even really feel angry anymore. I feel nothing. And that's worse, isn't it? That's the real punishment, that you don't matter to me at all. His face crumbled. I hope you figure out who you are. I hope you stop being your mother's puppet. I hope you find a way to be happy, but it won't be with me. That door closed the night I dropped my ring on that floor. I stepped back, started to close the door. Sophia? Goodbye, Derek. I closed the door, leaned against it, listened to him stand there for a long moment, then walk away. I didn't cry, didn't shake, didn't feel anything but relief. 6 months after that, I met someone new. Not a project, not a performance, just a good man who laughed easily and listened carefully and never once made me feel small. We took it slow, very slow. Dinners and walks and conversations that stretched into the night. He knew about Derek, knew about the engagement party, knew about everything. You're the bravest person I've ever met, he told me once. Walking out like that, choosing yourself in front of everyone, that's not something weak people do. I kissed him, thanked him, kept building the life I'd almost lost. Derek's mother called once, left a voicemail I never returned. Something about how she hoped I was happy, how she'd been wrong about me, how she wished things had been different. I deleted it without listening to the end. Sarah got married the next year. I was her maid of honor. My new man stood beside me, holding my hand through the whole ceremony. At the reception, she pulled me aside. Can you believe it? 2 years ago, you were engaged to that monster. Look at you now. I looked around the room, at the people I loved, at the life I'd built, at the peace I'd fought so hard for. Yeah, I said. Look at me. She hugged me. We danced until midnight. And somewhere across town, Derek was probably still trying to figure out where it all went wrong. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I was free. Would you have opened the door for him? Comment below. Can people really change, or do they just learn to perform better? Subscribe for more stories about choosing yourself, walking away, and never looking back.